An invitational with money on the line on a Thursday night? Hey, we'll take it. If you've already got your eyes fixed on the 24 hours at Daytona, maybe we could take care of some of that fix live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Young. With me in the booth tonight is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Welcome to the Vantage eSports Invitational as we bring the C7 Corvette out to play in a race with the $55 purse on the line. Ossian, Daytona. It's a name synonymous with American racing, both on the oval side and the side where you turn right occasionally also.
Indeed, it's a legendary place. Hello everybody, and perhaps the most famous endurance racing circuit in the world in places not called France. So pretty much in the civilized world, and well, it's a fantastic place. A lot of fantastic opportunities. I could talk about it all day long, but let's instead take a quick splash into our track guide here and see what it's like. And I've heard you got hashtag something for our track guide today.
All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC DP, so let's do a lap around Daytona. We'll cross the start-finish line at the tri-oval, then dive into the infield. Turn 1 has the fastest turn entry on the course. You're also coming off the banking, and it's a curved braking zone, so you're hit with the hard stuff straight away. As you exit, you've got this slight chicane, which is flat out, and then you head into the International Horseshoe. If you've got to run on your competitor, it is possible to throw one up the inside and make a pass. As you come out, you want to use every bit of pavement, including the access road on your left that offers room to drift wide. From there, you bring the car to the right, and your foot is going to be all the way to the floor through the infield kink. But this dumps you directly into the Western Horseshoe. It tightens at the center, so hitting the apex is always a tricky proposition. Passing is possible, but if it was me, I'd wait until later in the lap. Now we're going to come up to turn 6, which will test your prowess on throttle control during corner exit. You see, this is where you re-enter the oval, so you won't be lifting for quite a while. Guys who get greedy and spin the tires will not only lose time, but might find themselves staring at the banking from the grass, wondering what went wrong. But now that we're on the banking, the draft will come into play, and you'll find guys looking for passes heading into the bus stop. This is not always the smartest thing. If you're side by side, you'll slow both of you down and risk contact. I've witnessed many races go sour when someone got impatient. The best approach here is focusing on getting the best launch possible out of the chicane and then draft past your opponent once you get back onto the banking. And honestly, you're going to see that happen all day long with guys swapping spots using the slipstream. In the end though, the only lap that you need to lead is the last one, and if the racing is close, it could come down to who is in second at the bus stop. One last note before we finish, watch out for pit entry. Practicing braking to the speed limit will pay dividends later on. But that is a lap around Daytona.
And that was a lap around Daytona. And if you didn't notice, yeah, that's right. We brought out the Riley for hashtag Throwback Thursday. Brought it out from the museum to do a lap around Daytona here today. But of course, we have the next generation of prototypes, IMSA prototypes out on the track. Those are going to be the C7 Daytona Prototypes. You get into the race here in just a few minutes. We're going to be going for 45 minutes around here. The setups are going to be open, so these guys are tweaking, they're trying to get everything done. I mean, you kind of have to expect open setups in an invitational race where you're going to actually be able to win some money. We'll tell you about how much these guys can actually win here in just a few minutes. They are going to get 2 faster pairs, so could be worth it to try to stay in this thing, and they are going to have 75% fuel. So with a 45-minute race, 75% fuel in the C7, yeah, we're going to guarantee ourselves 1 pit stop here today. And Ossian, because we're in qualifying right now, why don't we talk about some of the qualifying details here?
Oh yes, indeed. The qualifying always, well, not necessarily here, but usually one of the most important parts of the race weekend. Many people think it's race only, but it's really qualifying is also very important. So you got 15 minutes to put in some laps and open setups and open cars also, so that means everyone is out there on the track at the same time. And tell you what, one thing to watch out for when it's open qualifying, when it's Daytona, when it's not the Riley DP, the Corvette DP, is the draft, the everlasting draft, all the way from that chicane on the back straight, all the way down the main straight into turn number 1. You want to have the draft, and ideally, you want to have the outside line into the first corner and let the guy who you just drafted pass you easily. Or, alternatively, if you have teammates, if you have someone you work with, you work the draft and guarantee yourself a pretty handy starting position.
And you bring up the draft coming, going to the front straightaway and all that. I particularly like the draft when you're coming back onto the track there, going into NASCAR 1 and 2 and heading to the bus stop. I've made so many moves there in the 24 hours of Daytona and the majors and everything else. It's always one of my favorite places to try to get a pass done around here at Daytona. But also, we were talking about, too, the fact that these guys have a chance of winning a little bit of money here tonight, $55 total on the line. Why don't you give us the breakdown on how that's going to go through position?
Oh, yeah. So it's not winner takes it all. It's not winner take all. It's in fact $20 for the winner of the race, with $15 going in for the silver and $10 for the bronze. And even 4th and 5th get a consolation prize of $5. So there is a little bit more than pride on the line here tonight, and it's always exciting to see, always interesting to see. I mean, even if there was no prize money, these guys would go all out, but I think, Adam, with some prize money, there is a little bit more than just good memories to be had in this race.
And this time of year, I don't know anybody that's going to turn down a little bit of extra cash. But hey, maybe you need that gift for yourself or, somebody. I'm wearing one tonight. You can go pick yourself up a GSRC T-shirt at our merchandise store. That's right. Yeah, we got a merchandise store. If you have missed out on some GSRC broadcasts here the last, about 3 weeks, maybe a month or so. There's even a few more items that aren't on that board, including now you can get a polo shirt there, a couple of other things, and you can use them for whatever you want. I'm planning on taking this T-shirt. I'm going to have my picture taken in Indianapolis in this T-shirt here, hopefully in a couple months. Actually, at the end of the month. So there you go. So definitely head up the merchandise store for GSRC if you're a fan of our broadcast. And of course, as usual, watching on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button. Now, we wouldn't be very good YouTubers if we didn't tell you to hit that red subscribe button. Anyway, so we mentioned on-track qualifying. It is open qualifying. They've got about 6 minutes, 20 seconds left in the section. We're looking at Stephen Ellis, the Canadian. I've seen him on a few GSRC broadcasts before. He is currently trying to see where he is at on the chart. I don't think he's actually set a time yet. No, he is not. So he's on his first flyer here. So we'll see what he can do. He did set a 38.8 in practice, which would put him right now probably about 11th or so.
Yeah, the problem is that he had David Blackwood alongside him going to those first couple of corners, so his lap won't be all that hot, all that good. We have a couple of other guys on the track as well. I believe we are watching Steve Ray right now, who is in P number 16, and he is with car number 11. His time 141.1, about 4 seconds off the lead. But the thing is, you say 4 seconds off the lead, you say 5 seconds off the lead, you say 3 seconds off the lead. Adam, we know that's an eternity in racing terms, but it might not be as bad as it looks because, as said, this is an open qualifying. These guys are constantly juggling for position, jostling for position. They are looking for that right spot out there on the racetrack. And man, I tell you what, Steve has a lot of open air in front of him, which is a blessing, but of course, with the draft included, it could also be a curse.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, because the draft can at times be the great equalizer, but it also at times promotes the pack racing. And of course, we all know what happens during pack racing, and sometimes one accident can take out more than one car. A couple of other familiar names that you might see out there. We got Steve Ray on the board right now. Sheldon Rosenbaum. Will be out there. Hey, Texas pretty well represented. They got to give a call out for the home state here. Not only do we got Sheldon out there, Rod Clenard's out there, Steve Ray, who you've seen, David Holland, Colin Stark, Clifton Urano, David Blackwood, David Weiss, who's a really good guy, although he's a New York transplant, so I don't know if we can qualify him as a Texan. John Ulmer, is out there. Lots of good times racing with John Ulmer in the old Texas League. He's out there here for today, and of course, yours truly. So always got to give a shout out to the Texas guys out there. Hey, we were talking about the merchandise too, the merchandise store. Austin, I didn't know this, but we're going to be drawing on December 21st. If you're a YouTube subscriber, we're picking 2 of them for a free piece of merchandise from the shop. So if you haven't subscribed yet, once again, bad YouTuber if we don't mention big red subscribe button in red outline in white letters.
Big red subscribe button and ring that bell to receive notifications every time GSRC goes online, because hey, you gotta have to follow the red brand.
And all credit goes to Austin on the red brand part, by the way. Everybody's loving that. He's running with it. We're running with it. It's going to be great. Oh, and I forgot to mention Lionel De Pratt. How could I forget Lionel De Pratt out there from Texas as well? Hey, Steve Ray on the board now. He is currently, looks like, sitting in, is that 11th position? No, it's not. 19th. Okay, so we'll try to give him a few more positions. We actually got. Here's Lionel De Pratt running in 7th position. So good qualifying effort so far here for Lionel. And if we can see a lot of those guys who are used to racing against each other try to get up there and probably work together. Probably this, more than any other road course that you'll find, having a teammate and working with other guys is so crucial here, Austin.
Yes, indeed, and we are seeing that right now with Colin Stark and Ned Stark, the Stark guys, number 17 and 4, with Colin, who is actually right now on the provisional pole position, leading Ned away out here on the racetrack, and you're gonna see Ned slingshot away into turn number 1 real soon here. Colin giving it away, Ned taking the inside line. Ooh, I would have done the other way around. But you see Ned right now, P number 3, with Colin ending up in the wall, and Ned's gonna have a nice slingshot heading on to his next fast lap, and he's still got his one. And if he's quick, I think he might have another one after this. Remember, folks watching, if you cross that line before the clock runs out, you are allowed to finish your lap even if you are over the time limit. That's not the case in all qualifying formats, it's the case here. So that's a very interesting thing to add in here as well. So we're gonna have a lot, and I mean a lot of suspense right until the end of this qualifying. But Adam, what a job these Stark guys are doing. P1 and P4 right now.
Yeah, so far ending up better than they did on Game of Thrones. So I'm sure.
Not seen
Ned
that.
I'm sure Ned gets that a lot. He's probably sick of hearing about it. Hey, Rachel Hunt. You race against Rachel on PRL Trucks on Wednesday nights, which that season starts up again next week. So good to see Rachel out there. Here's John Ulmer. I think this is his first flyer here. We'll see what he is able to put on the board. He kind of got here a little bit late. Didn't put down a practice time. And 39.94, that's going to put him 19th. So he has some ground to gain. And Ned Stark now on the board here for 4th. And it looks like he's coming down pit lane. So maybe trying to get a little bit of extra pit lane entry practice in here. And this is one place too, Ossian, as qualifying ticks down. Still a few cars out there. Pit road entry is going to be critical here because so many things could go wrong on entry at pit road at Daytona, even for as wide as it is.
Yeah, the pit road entry, and even more crucially, okay, the pit road entry may seem hazardous, it will trick you, it will fool you, because I have pitted here with a prototype, and I know that I have also taken a speeding penalty, because it seems so much easier than it actually is. But even more hazardous is the pit lane exit at Daytona. You have those high curbs, and let me tell you what, you don't want to hit those with the DP, you don't want to hit those with anything. I would not drive over those things with a tank, let alone with a fragile prototype like this is.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I've seen many cars damaged by hitting those. I don't even want to call them curbs. Like, I don't know, tank
Obstacles?
traps. Yeah, there you go. So that's what the exit Daytona is. All right, so I see one car out there. That would be Telez. Trying to see if he is indeed on a flyer. He is on a flyer. So he's got, looks like 1 minute left in the countdown. He's too far back. He's not going to make it back to the line, I don't think. But we'll follow him here just in case. And then we'll give you a rundown since we're running the C7. We should have a pace lap here at Daytona. Back up, going through, this is NASCAR 1 and 2. We'll be going down toward the back straightaway here in just a second into the bus stop. Jose, another guy that runs PRL and particularly the trucks with me on Wednesday nights. So, you know, like I will admit, sometimes I can be a little partial to guys I run with here. So, for a good finish for him.
Speaking of NASCAR 3. Speaking of Finnish, I'm very partial to the Finnish guys myself. But maybe fortunately there are none here on tonight's broadcast, so I can be impartial.
There you go. There you go. It's like me and the Finnish guys, you know, after how many times we got our butts beat in the World Cup by you guys. So.
Oh, speaking of World Cup and this combo.
1 second, see what he came up with. I must have picked up an incident somewhere. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll read through the grid and we can pick up the World Cup banner here in just a second. Starting our roll one of the Starks, Colin Stark, he'll be in P1. Kevin Santana will be in second. Scott Rambler is going to be third. Ned Stark will be fourth. Clifton Nerano is going to start in fifth. David Holland in sixth. Lionel De Pratt in seventh. David Weiss in eighth position. Sean Romick in ninth. And Raymond Day, there you go. And I should know that. We've called him before. Raymond Day in 10th.
And in 11th place, in row number 6, Rod Clinard with Kristen Gritzko in 12th place. Sheldon Rosenbaum in 13th. Nicholas Delp in 14th. Stephen Ellis 15th. Andy Spicer 16th, then it's Remo Ambrosi, P number 17, with Terry Swan 18, John Ulmer 19, and Karsten Quint rounding out your top 20.
And I think I heard John say it's actually his first laps turn in a couple of months, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets back, kind of going back into race pace there. To round things out, Steve Ray starting in row 11 alongside him, David Blackwood, Rachel Hunt, and Billy Briggins will make up row 12, and Jose Telez in row 13, flying solo shotgun on the field. So he's going to have to watch out. We're going to start 25 Corvette C7s here, making sure everybody's in the session. Actually looks like John backed out. Not sure if he's reloading or if he's going to go ahead and call it a night here early, just trying to get his feet back wet. But so we'll start either 24 or 25 here. You can see they're lining up on the back stretch. So they'll go through the bus stop and then through NASCAR 3. Pace car will come off at NASCAR 4. And then these guys will take the green flag as we head into the tri-oval. So we were getting ready to talk about Finnish dominance in the World Cup, Ossian.
Yeah, I should know that well. Back in 2017, this very car and track combo, Corvette C7 at Daytona, featured in the World Cup of iRacing finals. And well, we know what happened there. But the thing is, it's not as easy as it looks. I was a driver there that day, not only as the captain of Club Finland, but also as a driver for Club Finland. And I tell you what, one of the more difficult things I've done on iRacing, honestly. These cars, they don't have much downforce. You have to set them up for straight line speed. You have to make use of that draft. and all these drivers, all the way from Colin Stark to Host Teles, from P1 to P25, are gonna have treacherous times, especially as the time winds down, and they will most likely not change tires in the pits. So you're gonna have difficult times with the full tank of fuel.
Yeah, that's very true. And this definitely becomes even more of a harder car too on other tracks. I mean, Watton's Glen can sometimes be a handful even in the C7. So that'll be one thing we're going to watch out for. And I think in particular the horseshoes. But pace car getting ready to pull off. Mustang pace car is making its way now down pit road. Colin Stark and Kevin Santana. Looks like they're ready to go. Here we go. Taking the green flag at Daytona for the Vantage eSports Invitational. Santana not having the best of run to the flag. Rambler is going to get around him for second. I think just about everybody making it through turn one in the first couple of the S-curves there. All fine and everything, so that's good news there. Dave Blackwood lost a few positions in the back, but for the most part, a few side-by-side battles, but everybody through clean.
Yeah, in the back as well, I was watching towards the back end of the field, a couple of guys taking very easily into turn number one, never a bad plan. And as such, they all made it through the first corners. And that is something, honestly, even the best drivers in the world have difficulties dealing with this first corner, so very well done these guys. And looks like even though there's prize money on the line, even though it's an invitational, a special event, they will be looking to make it to the distance and not do the fool's errand and try to win the race in the first corner, because I tell you what, you cannot do that. Not here, not at Daytona, and not anywhere else, as we have Ned Stark, Clifton Naranjo quite close to each other, as well as those leaders.
Yeah, so far three, Colin Stark, Rambler, and Kevin Santana trying to do their best to break away, but Ned Stark following closely in kind of a second pack that is, evenly spread, almost going back to about, looks like maybe 11th or 12th or so. So things are already starting to spread out, but just about everybody within range of each other's toe. So, as in fact, looks like Rambler was thinking about trying to use that toe to his advantage. In fact, he's going to go ahead and think about trying to make an outside move here. Can't get on the throttle. No real traction control in these cars, so sometimes getting on the throttle, especially in turn one of the things that can catch you, can be a problem. But Rambler was able to keep it in a straight line and did not lose second position, but he did lose the battle for first.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, actually. I was, you said earlier they are trying to break away from the pack, and I was expecting the same, take a couple of laps, couple of further laps, very easily break away from the pack, use each other's draft, become temporary allies at least. And on that front straight, I was seeing Scott Rambler run alongside Colin Stark, and I was thinking easy pass, he's gonna make it to the lead, Colin's gonna let him do it, and they're just gonna swap the lead every couple of times and make sure that nobody behind can catch up to them. Then came the surprise. Colin was not willing to let that lead go, and you can see him taking a defensive line on the back straight here as well, heading into chicane. So that's a very, very interesting tactic. But one of those things, one of the reasons why he might not be willing to run away just yet is P number 4, because that's Ned in P number 4. And I'm sure Colin would want nothing more than Ned joining him in, have an ally in this lead battle as well. Now Ned just gotta hope that Kevin Santana can hold on to that leading duo.
And there's also something to be said for the fact that there's money on the line here tonight too. So if it comes down to it, Stark brothers could end up a little bit more like the Bush brothers, but we'll see as Stark runs real wide, gets a little loose. That's going to give Rambler the window he needs. Still not in the preferred line here as we go through the first horseshoe. He doesn't chop Stark's nose off. Good jump driver on him, but as we head toward the kink, he would have the inside, but he was able to get the good run out of the horseshoe. He's going to take sole possession of first. So move Rambler into P1, Stark back to P2.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a very awkward conversation at the dinner table come the 25th if those brothers indeed do end up taking each other out. But yeah, Rambler with a very nice move battling it out. Now Colin Stark relegated to P number 2, and Kevin Santana suddenly looking really hungry. And this battle for the lead guys is gonna really bunch up the pack. Even though the top 5 have kinda sorta run away right now, with David Holland and Lionel De Pratt just playing catch up a little bit. But it's kinda like watching Tour de France, when you have the breakaway pack and then you have the peloton.
That is a very good analogy that I think I'm going to steal at some point.
Just less doping.
One thing I've noticed here is a little bit of front end damage on Colin Stark. Now, that probably won't affect him too much just yet, as Santana is going to go ahead and make it look here. He might go all the way from third to first. We'll get back to that front end damage here in just a second. That is called not only using the main draft, but using the side draft as well. But he gets into turn 1 too hot, and he's going to lose the lead, but still gain second. So Santana took turn 1 in with a head full of steam, looking to the inside here through the horseshoe. Can't get the preferred line here just yet. Rambler gets the power off. He's going to be able to hold Santana back at least before we get to the kink. Head to the second horseshoe here, and Rambler still looks like he is going to have the preferred line here. Let's get back to that damage on Colin Stark. That you hit the curbs in these C7s too much, and that'll start to happen. It just kind of looks like one side is kind of bent up. That is kind of like, at least that level of damage, is kind of like the wing on a Skip Barber. You can knock that wing off. It's just cosmetic at that point, so you should still be able to have all the downforce he needs and everything, at least what little bit you get off the front ends of these cars.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see, clear and clean laps as we have the leaders actually side by side. Let's return to that soon. No, Kevin Santana is leading the pack into the chicane, and let's see how long he leads as they get to the front straight. Anyway, going back to the damage just briefly, not gonna affect too much at that stage, but with Daytona, with all those speeds, and every little bit counts. You know it from NASCAR, you know it from every other racing league that runs at Daytona. You're gonna need all the top speed you can, as we have battles going on all the way from P number 1 to P number 5.
Yep, and that 5-car pack has continued to kind of space out over the rest of it. Santana way loose. He catches it once, he catches it twice. We're gonna move Colin Stark back up to the lane. A little bit of contact. Stark's around. Oh, Santana's in the grass. This front pack get crazy. Trying to see where Stark ended up.
Far.
It took him a while to get back around. This all started going into turn 1. Santana broke loose on the inside. Rambler really nowhere to go, so he ends up giving him room. And then Santana, obviously not intentional, just kind of happened in the process of getting himself back on track and back straight, got into the back of Colin Stark and sent him into the infield grass. And Colin moves all the way back to 9th position. So very costly for him. At the end, that's going to move Rambler up to first, Ned Stark to second, Santana to third, who now under challenge from Clifton Nerano as they head into the bus stop. I did see one car on
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin's loose again.
So he just got loose, trying to go a little bit too hot around the outside and losing it under braking actually already. Just trying to turn it in that corner. That C7 will really let up once you let off the throttle even a little bit, and he was loose, trying to save it, trying to still turn it in, and just spun it all the way. Fortunately for him, he did not hit anything, so he's able to return back to the track and able to return to racing speed. Now we got Kevin Santana and Colin Stark, two pretty fast guys relegated from the front end of the field to the mid pack. So it's interesting to see what those guys can do in terms of a recovery drive.
And they're both about 9.5 seconds back. So pit stops will become very crucial for them to make sure that they get on and off pit road as quickly as they can. Try to at least make up some time there, because the lap times here on the track will probably come back to them tenths at a time. When you're 9 seconds back, that just is not going to cut it. Looking up, looks like Ellis is around. After starting this race quiet, we've had a lot of action here quickly. Firing up the GSRC replay machine, we'll see what happened to him. Looked like Raymond Day, and I do see some damage on Raymond Day's nose from that too. So I'm going to take one more look at this different angle. That's the camera looking into the horseshoe, and that in you know that it's Aussie. I know you've raced a lot here. I've raced a lot here. That's a pretty common style accident in one of the horseshoes here.
Yeah, it's just one of those clumsy ones, You look back at that, and neither driver, I think, is very proud of that one, That's not what you want to have happen there, especially with significant contact. And it's something that also might happen near the front, as we have Ned Stark and Scott Rambler. And Scott, actually, is it just me, or does Scott have some significant damage on the right rear of that car as he gets very loose indeed?
Ooh, turn one is getting interesting in these cars very quickly. Yeah, I think that came when that whole mess there happened. As he back end tries to break loose on him, as he jams on the binders, trying to stay out of the back of Ned Stark. All of a sudden, these cars very, very ill handling here through turns one, going into the horseshoes.
Yeah, the problem is that they are getting really hot tires breaking into turn number one. A lot of these guys are driving loose cars, and this is what I talked about briefly in the pre-race show during the qualifying, in fact, that they are running so low downforce here on the track that they don't have the natural help that the C7 usually has. And the C7 is a pretty wiggly car anyway. It likes to get a little bit squiddly. So the problem is that once you remove the downforce and you remove what little grip it had and you cook the tires, then you are in for a real bad time. So these guys have to manage all those situations, all those tires, all that lack of grip while battling each other. So it's gonna be very interesting. Ned Stark right now in the lead with Scott Rammer's P number 2, and I think Clifton is right now looking at that P number 3, the so-called popcorn position, but he is not eating popcorn. He is trying to think, how do I make it past these guys before they crash into each other? And that's very brave from Scott. That is very brave. Thankfully nothing happened. Wow.
Yeah, it looked like Clifton had to get out of the gas just a touch to keep from getting in the back. As Ned Stark, a little bit of a problem getting into turn one, but still looked cleaner than last time. Rambler also got in there a little hot. And since we're bringing up tires and heating them up and everything else, of course, iRacing just had the big update on Tuesday, and this Corvette C7 was not one of the cars that ended up with the new tire model. So this is a tire model that a lot of guys have experience on, but even then, I still think it's catching a lot of people off guard here for tonight. We saw Rambler flashing his lights at Stark there. Not sure if he was happy with the way that first horseshoe went. Looking at Sheldon Rosenbaum. Sheldon looks like he is off track. Let's see what happened to him here. Another trip to the GSRC replay machine. Locked him up and went on a round. And who was that got into it? That was Christian Grisco.
Yeah, he got pretty hard into him. Nowhere for Christian to go, and that's a very unfortunate situation. Once again, we see horseshoe causing problems for these guys, with Christian just running right in the spinning car. He had nowhere to go, and that's such a deflating feeling for both of the guys, because neither of them want to make contact. That's the last thing you want to do here, even more so than at a regular racetrack. You never want to make contact, especially here, knowing that even a small bit of damage can cause real issues. And once again, the leaders are at it.
Yeah, 3-wide battle for the lead, which, by the way, Colin Stark and Kevin Santana's recovery drives now under 8 seconds of a gap while these guys have been fighting. Kevin Santana being our first taker down pit road, by the way. So, but these guys still going at it tooth and nail, going through turns 1 and turns 2 and now into the horseshoe. Stark's going to drift a little wide. Almost a little bit of contact between him and Rambler, able to stay off each other. While those guys have also been going at it, Weiss, Holland, and De Pratt, by the way, all three guys that know how to race around each other and will probably work together, being from Texas. Well, they have really caught up.
Yeah, Terry Swan just spun in turn number 1, meanwhile, had actually contact with, as Kevin Santana was exiting the pit lane, he had contact with the P number 14 car, which was, of course, Andy Spicer. so they had a lot of problems heading into the turn number 1. And that to me looked like a situation, Andy, where just, two driving lines collided and two objects try to enter one space at the same time, and you know what happens there. That's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, and that's something else that sometimes happens with the pit exit here is that you sometimes lose track if there's a car underneath you when you're coming back out on track, especially in the same class as Terry Swan still is trying to get back into the groove of things here. Santana's looking to the inside after that contact. And, of course, he's also on new tires, which that might be part of the strategy. Go ahead and pit now and just kind of see how things play out here the rest of the way. We are 15 minutes now into this race. We've got 30 to go, so that does put him in the pit window. Who is that blasting through the... That was Steve Ray. I think he just missed
and Colin
entry.
Stark. Colin Stark just spun in turn number 1 after trying to avoid another spinning car. That was David Weiss spinning. So it all started with David Weiss.
It looked like David Weiss might have just lost the back end going into 1 and was still parked there when Stark came along. And those guys were working together really well in that second pack. Light contact between him and Stark. See Stark coming up here, just sliding into him as well.
Yeah, I think Colin was a little bit caught out by the fact that he saw the yellow flags, saw car spinning, a lot of smoke, didn't quite know if the guy was gonna, return back to the track. These are all good drivers, of course, but sometimes you have guys being careless, being frustrated after their spin, making a silly mistake, coming back to the track. We've seen 4-time Formula 1 World Champions do it. So, he makes silly mistakes, and maybe he was just throwing it sideways just to be sure, because light damage is better than very heavy damage. Or he just lost it, who knows.
Very true. We were looking at Sean Romig there almost pushing Colin Stark a moment ago, but Colin Stark ends up having to take it into the grass going through the bus stop. That's going to cost him some time. I would not be surprised to see Colin Stark at this point coming down pit road, maybe trying to take advantage and maybe trying to get himself calmed down as well. It's Rambler. Rambler's trying to go around. He's sitting sideways in turn 1. Oh, worst possible spot because you're blind entry right there. He's back straight. That's going to cost him a few positions.
And the problem here, as you guys see them coming into turn number 1, with even race leader Scott Kramer spinning around, is that you're turning lightly to the left. Not only that, but you're exiting a banking and you're turning left. You have low downforce and you're coming hot off your heels, 170, 175 miles an hour, even 180. If you're in a draft, and then you suddenly, not only do you have to turn, but the car is still very upset, and then you come off the banking, it's gonna upset the car even more. So it's very easy to make a mistake, and usually you counter it by applying a little bit of throttle. You try to balance the car with the throttle, feathering the throttle, and turning in very carefully indeed. But if you are in a position where your braking is late anyway, and you don't have the opportunity, if you're leading a pack, for example, as Scott was there, if you're leading a pack, then you can't necessarily start braking as soon as you would want to, where you feel safe, and that's why you're seeing all of those guys spinning out in turn number 1. It's way more difficult than it looks, folks.
I can think of a recent turn 1, real life one. I remember just back a few years ago, and it might have been the last year, maybe the year before last, the last time the Delta Wing raced at Daytona in the prototype class, and had that accident in turn 1 when they were actually leading. Everybody gives the Delta Wing a hard time, but they were leading the Daytona 24 and got caught up in an accident in the blind portion of turn 1 there. So looking at that pass on track, that was Holland being able to get around De Pratt there. I think those guys might be trying to leapfrog. Now that they've lost Weiss in that third drafting partner, might be trying to play a little bit of leapfrog and taking advantage of the draft and see if that strategy works out for them.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how all these strategies are going to play out in the long run. You never quite know who are the guys you can trust in a draft and who are the guys you can't trust in a draft. Also, Clifton Naranjo, Ned Stark back in the lead. They are doing very well for themselves right now, just putting in good lap time, staying consistent, staying out of the trouble. 2 cars, I think, is the optimal right now that you want. Usually it's 3 cars, but here we're seeing a pack of 2, then we see a pack of 2, and then again we see a pack of 2. So that seems to be the safe option there, and as soon as it gets to more than 2, Adam, then it's gonna be trouble.
And looking, looks like that's Grisco, and you see that bobble once again going into turn 1. And that was a case there where things didn't feel right. You knew you were probably going to go around. I'm going to go ahead and slide it out in the concrete and not hit anything. That's kind of what Christian Grisco looked like right there, as a matter of car preservation. I can imagine quite a few guys here, Austin, are going to take their fast repairs, have taken their fast repairs once they come down pit road. I see Raymond Day now with a clean car once again. Trying to see Colin Stark now has a clean car, so Colin's come down pit road.
And can I just say, someone who has been doing very well for himself, remember when we talked during the qualifying, will Jose Teles get a lap in? Well, he didn't. He started in downright last place, 25th, which turned out to be 24th when John Ulmer didn't start the race. Guess where he is right now? P number 10. And even more crucially, he is racing with a clean car. I don't see a dent in that beautiful green and white livery that he has.
Yeah, Teles is known in the PRL trucks as being one of those guys that you never really expect to be there, and then all of a sudden at the end of the race, hi guys, I'm here, and tries to make a difference. As right now he's got Kevin Santana right behind him, kind of locks up the brakes just a little bit. I do expect Kevin Santana to get around him pretty easy. His last lap was about 3 seconds quicker, but Teles going to try to hold him up as much as he can here, because ultimately he doesn't want to cost himself any time.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you want to let someone pass here, you do it either here when the draft is at its greatest. He actually, but I think Jose is really trying to hold him off until the end of the chicane, and he will be successful by the looks of things. That way, when Kevin Santana makes that pass, he will still get a draft of the other guy, and he can follow him into that infield. Whereas if you let someone pass right before the bus stop, it's very difficult to follow through there. You may not necessarily get that sweet draft, and here we go. Kevin going around the outside, and I'm expecting this to be pretty much a slam dunk heading into turn number 1, but then again, turn number 1, these guys out here today, you know, anything might happen. But in the end, we see, you know, being very conservative and actually losing it a little bit, was Teles.
Yeah, losing it really early under braking going into turn 1. Decided he was going to go ahead and mess up his green and white livery there with some orange cones, but he's got his act back together already. He's not seeing red too much, so he's back underway. And we haven't checked in with him in a little bit. Let's go back up front. Clifton Arano now actually has himself about a 0.3 of a gap, 0.3 of a second gap on Ned Stark, as Ned Stark really dives into the bus stop, trying to make up some of that ground here. And actually, I'm hoping he didn't just cut the Ned Stark didn't just cut the end of that bus stop enough to where he got to slow down. It looks like he's okay, but definitely got the off track there. He was enough in the grass for that.
Yeah, the thing with the slowdown penalty here is that it can be so frustrating when you cut it just a little bit and you don't even necessarily gain anything from it because you made a driver error, and then you just cut the chicane a little bit too much, the bus stop, and you kind of take it to the grass, and then you know, you hear that dreary. They say you cut the course, you gotta slow down and give up the time gain from your spotter. Everyone has heard that, and that has to be, honestly, that I need to make it my ringtone or my alarm tone or something, because I will know that I will wake up immediately when I hear that. Not necessarily in a good mood, but I will wake up.
And we've all been there, as now we're riding on board there with, we were riding on board there for a second with Clifton. Now looking back to Rambler, see where he ended up. He's back in 5th, and that is another guy that has moved up some spots. He's up about 5 spots since the start of this race, starting in 11th, now up to 6th. It's Rod Clenard with Rambler just in front of him. And Rambler also kind of, I guess, on a recovery drive after his one incident. One guy, though, that after a little bit of contact, he's still holding strong and I think trying to hold off as long as he can for his pit stop. That's going to be David Weiss, and he's actually just behind these two. We saw his incident a little while ago. He's trying to make up some lost ground now as well.
Yeah, he's driving very clever right now. He has Sean Romig sort of kind of for company a couple of seconds away. And in front, he can see Rod Glenard, he can see Scott Rambler as well. And, you know, he has eyesight to a potential battle about to happen. But actually, and as he has that eyesight, he takes the second option, option B, and goes right into the pit lane. So here we go. He's doing his own stop, Sean Romig as well following him into the pit lane, and this is the point where we're gonna see a lot of these guys heading into the pit lane this next couple of laps, because it's kind of hard to race when you have no fuel in the tank. It doesn't work that way.
And we saw the fast repair happen, or as I like to imagine it, the pit crew just
the hammer of justice.
Out. Yes, the hammer of justice, Thor's hammer. He is worthy enough of taking advantage of one of 2 fast repairs granted to everybody to get a new front end on that Corvette C7, and David Weiss is back underway. So still tracking some of these guys here that are making recovery drives. Oh, not a great pit exit. Remember, cold tires on the C7 can sometimes be a handful. Yeah. And one battle we're going to want to watch out for, go back to it, is going to be, and this is going to be one that we're going to watch kind of closely here going back to the end of the race. It's going to end up being, it looks like, trying to make sure everything's right here, looks like Rambler and Clenard. Rambler in 5th, Clenard in 6th. Why is that important, Ossian, if people are just joining us?
Well, because those guys were indeed just bidding, and because I don't know, honestly, I'm lost. Why?
Money!
I was watching Lionel De Pratt.
iRacing credits.
Oh,
the
right.
top 5 getting iRacing credits here today.
I was watching David Holland and Lionel De Pratt actually battle, so you know, give me a pass on that one. They were having a really good battle out there.
Oh, and speaking of that battle, Lionel De Pratt kicks contact with Rambler. Spinning off the front end of Rambler goes Lionel De Pratt. And De Pratt trying to find a space to get back in line and get back going again. GSRC replay machine getting fired up way too much here as of late. And we're going to take a look at the aerial view here. And you'll see Rambler get himself a good run. He goes into the horseshoe. Lionel De Pratt hits the apex, but also happens to find the nose of Rambler, who ended up right there. So that changes that a little bit, as that's going to move Clenard up into the 5th position. David Holland in 3rd. So
yeah, and
that means your top 5, at least right now, pretty well set, can settle amongst themselves that they can keep it going here for the next 17 minutes.
Yeah, and that's one of those things in the horseshoe that are bound to happen, you know. Lionel was not expecting a pass, probably. Scott was behind him, looking to the inside line. Lionel was taking the outside line and focusing on that exit. So it was just 2 guys on 2 different lines, and Scott Rambler right now making it into the pit lane.
Around.
Oh.
He's trying to get himself back going here before he loses 2nd position. 1st and 2nd had a big run. And he just loses it all by himself once again, under braking into turn 1.
Yeah, he was just trying to, you know, keep it straight as long as possible. The thing is, he turned it a little bit too hard in there. He knew that, okay, I'm not gonna make that corner, the car's not gonna stop, and he tried to turn it on the last ditch effort, but what happens was that the left rear lost traction, and he just turned in a little bit too hard. All the weight went to the rear, and then he spun around.
And got another car around here. See, that's Nicholas Delp in that purple and black C7. And once again, rear end loses grip. He's going to spin out of 7th place.
It's a real race of attrition at this point, and Ned Stark has been managing it perfectly so far. And I don't want to jinx him because I just jinxed Lionel as well. So I don't want to jinx Ned. I think Ned has been doing a fantastic job out here so far, and is a real favorite right now for that $20 prize out here today. Of course, all the prize money that you just reminded me of, oh man, it's gonna be so sweet. And I think a little bit of an additional thing for him is beating that car number 17 as well. You know how it is. Colin was faster on the qualifying. Colin was faster all throughout the first portion of the race. Ned was just kind of hanging back, minding his business, biding his time. And right now, everyone else from ahead of him has spun out, got themselves into accident, pitted early, and he, in turn, has the keys to the victory in his hand. Now, can he keep them in his grasp or not? That is a wholly different question.
Ooh. Trying to see, Colin, you saw it on your screen right there, trying to see who he got into.
David Blackwood.
Okay, so David's running about 6 laps down here after being on pit road and ends up just sliding right into the tires. That was hard contact there. And Colin ended up, it looked like, with pretty significant front end damage in that, but on the screen right now it looks like it didn't register on the server at least just yet. So he's and we'll see, we're going to watch his lap times over the next few laps, and we'll see ultimately how that affects him. Either way though, you make contact like that with somebody, it's going to slow you down.
Yeah, it's so very difficult.
9 here, roaming, losing that position to David Weiss. David Weiss might be out for blood here, trying to gain what he lost.
Yeah, he so is, and that is a deflating feeling when you lost something. But after that, you're gonna be like, okay, there's 2 approaches you can take to that. One, you're gonna calm down, gather your bearings, and set yourself a new target. Or number 2, you're gonna have that red mist descend upon your eyes, and you want to be where you think you rightfully belong to. And that was a battle not for P number 9, not for P number 10, but rather where Sean Romick was earlier. And that means that what he wants is to get past as fast as possible. And he doesn't probably think, well, some people are the way that they don't even think where that, they should be battling these guys, that they should be battling different guys. And it's a mental thing, really. And it depends entirely on the driver. Now, I'm not saying any of these drivers are that way, but I'm just seeing over the years, I've seen a lot of guys who don't think they belong in the mid pack. They think they belong in the top end of the field. And as such, maybe taking things a little bit, as we say in Finland, with an open chat in the midfield battles.
Another good analogy there is looking at Nicholas Delp. He's actually going to lose the spot to Colin Stark. So we can move Colin Stark back up into 6th position, and Nicholas Delp, who is now one of the biggest movers in this field as he's come up. Almost going to try to come back here. Okay, not quite. As he's up about 8 spots from the start of this race.
Yeah, and as we are gonna watch the GSRC replay machine boot it up again, and you're gonna see an overtake on the screen.
And waiting for them to clear the lap traffic here. And lap traffic, by the way, is Rachel Hunt. So always runs those pink schemes. And we're actually going to hold off on that here right now. Nicholas Delp looking like trying to come back on the outside, but I think he let him at least have it right there. I don't think he really wanted to contest that into turn 1, and ultimately ended up losing some time sliding it through there.
Yeah, and David Holland has joined the mix as well. He was really biding his time with that pit stop, and he joined just in front of them with cold tires on the C7 DP. So this is gonna get really interesting. Remember, he's gonna have no grip. He was really aggressive, trying to take the line off Colin Stark, but Colin Stark ultimately just making that move down on the inside, and suddenly Nicholas Delp is gonna have himself a David Holland between himself and Colin Stark. So that could potentially have really long-lasting consequences in terms of who is gonna have that, what is, I believe right now, the final prize-paying position.
And to recap those, the point, money payoff here today, $55 total going out, spread amongst the top 5. You win it, you're coming home with $20 in iRacing credits. Second place 15, third 10, and fourth and fifth both get 5. But they get something for fourth and fifth, where if you're in sixth place, you get a pat on your back and you get to go home. So at the very least, you finished, kind of thing. But you don't come home with any kind of iRacing credits there.
Yeah, and as Lionel De Pratt was making his pit stop, we are seeing a lot of these strategies pan out at the later points of the race. And one thing I must mention is that these guys have really been able to run these cars for a long time. I mean, I did not expect 35-minute stints, 36-minute stints. I was expecting 30 minutes at most. And Lionel is gonna end up back on the track, I believe, a little bit behind on P number 9, it looks like to me. He's gonna end up on P number 9, so behind that David Weiss, Sean Romig, and Rod Clinard battle, which, by the way, is going to turn out to be a very juicy one indeed, by the looks of things. So battles all over the racetrack, even though the man of the hour right now is Ned Stark, but behind him, man, P number 5 onwards, Adam, all bets are off. Just all bets are off. If I was a betting man, I would sit out.
Oof. And that's all stuff that could entirely happen there. As we're looking at Romig, once again, he's trying to use a little bit of that side draft almost from David Weiss. And I hate to put you on the spot, Ossian, but I know you've raced this car quite a bit. How is the side draft in this car compared to, say, a Cup car on one of these larger tracks?
Oh, with the Cup car, it's much more efficient. With these cars, not so much, and I think it is less about trying to use that side draft and more maybe his oval instincts coming to fore, thinking that he's gonna have an advantage. To be honest, it's not as big of an advantage as running right behind another car. As you see him pulling to the outside, you just want to run as close to the other guy as possible and try to take away his room in order to shuffle into that turn number 1. And as we see behind them, Rod Clinard taking the opportunity, and he's getting tired of sitting in that popcorn position and instead making a very nice move on Sean Romig. That was a brave one. You don't usually go too wide from there.
All right, another battle shaping up just ahead of these guys, at least on the leaderboard, but they're actually about 5 seconds ahead. You'll find Colin Stark and David Holland. They were just side by side a second ago. They've got themselves sorted out, running back nose to tail, but Holland feels, at least right at the very moment, nice. Then Holland tries to break loose a little bit, getting back there on the track. Holland was feeling a little bit more like the faster car, but Stark starting to get back into his own shape here.
Yeah, and Colin is going to be helped out by those lap cars. You see Andy Spicer, Karsten Quinn ahead of them, right in front of him, and they are going to be in the zone where Colin is hoping they're going to give him that sweet draft all the way through the oval on the main straight and not gonna be in front of him once they come to that infield section. And by the looks of things, Colin is gonna get a little bit lucky here as well with the timing, flashing the lights, letting them know, I'm faster, I'm coming through here. Let's see if everything pans out as he wants to, heading into turn number 1.
And you see it there, and everybody, Holland not able to get around. Keep in mind, Spicer and Carson Quint here are fighting for position among themselves. Holland's alone, walls in the concrete.
Save it. Yes! Yes! Good piece of driving. Dominik Hasek, sit down.
Oh, man. Now, I've got to wonder, though, did he hit that concrete enough to mess up the toe in his front endo, but still doesn't take away. Look at this. A little bit of contact with the lap car, hit the concrete on the grass, back on the track, and ultimately, I think really only lost about a second or two to Colin Stark and all that.
That was insane, and that's the problem he had, because Colin Stark was able to get away, losing 0 time, in fact gaining time thanks to the draft on the main straight, whereas, oh man, I feel so bad for poor David Holland, thrown right into the mix, but he handled the situation really well considering what kind of calamity it looked like it turned out to be. That was some great piece of driving by David Holland, and still holds on to that P number 5.
Yeah, and that P number 5, that's what's critical right now. Even if his car is a little bit damaged from running into the concrete, he's got a 7, well, I think it's probably down a little bit after the contact, might be closer to 5 seconds here, trying to see the timing and scoring between him and David Weiss, but I think he's got enough of a gap here that if he's slightly damaged, he just tries to hold on and try out for that 5th position there, and try to at least take home a few bucks.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Another thing I should note, I've been watching lap times between our leading duo of Ned Stark and Clifton Naranjo, and Clifton 138.8, 140.1, 138.6, whereas Ned Stark has been running very consistent lap times, but those consistent lap times have been 39.8, 39.5, 39.2. So Clifton is faster on pure pace right now. If he can keep it together, the gap between them last time around 2.9 seconds. 5 minutes left in this race. Ooh, it's gonna be close. Remember, you get the draft from 1.5 seconds away with this car, so it'll be interesting.
It will. So we're not quite done yet with 3 minutes, 40 seconds on the clock. They'll get a couple more laps in before we see the white flag. Hearing Clenard and Weiss getting awfully close to each other. At this point, this fight here between these two is just going to be for bragging rights, but heck, 6th position, a lot better than 7th, at least in my mind. You always want to be ahead of the guy in front of you, and that is kind of what's on Rod Clenard's mind right now.
Yeah, and you see David Weiss taking a really wide line through the bus stop there. So he was really in trouble, barely able to hold it together, and under all sorts of pressure. The thing is, these guys are measuring right now. Rod is measuring whether he can make it past David Weiss before that start-finish line. Right now, looks to not be the case. So it's an important thing for that last lap. Do you want to be behind or ahead, heading into the bus stop on the last lap and heading out of the bus stop on the last lap? If you are able to make a good bus stop, if you're confident in your ability to eke out 1 or 2 tenths of a second against a rival, then you absolutely want to be behind and make that move right on the banking. But if you think that you are pretty even, then, why not be ahead before that? Because, making that move on the last lap, it might be really close. That's what they're measuring. Who knows?
Probably have, I'm guessing, about a lap and a half to go for these guys here. We'll see what the timing is at when they get back around, whether we get the white flag this time or not, but they got about 27 seconds here to get back to the start-finish stripe. And Clifton, he feels faster than Ned Stark. I think he's just going to run out of time here.
And he's making too many mistakes too. He's making those micro mistakes all the time.
Pushing it too hard. So we should get the white flag here this time by. White flag is in the air. We're going to go one more trip around Daytona International Speedway here for the Vantage eSports Invitational. Ned Stark able to keep it together through turn 1. Looking at Clifton. Clifton's sliding. He's still trying to get every little bit he can out of that car. Kevin Santana, for that matter, doing the same thing. Colin Stark, a little bit more collected. David Holland. That's your top 5. That's who would come home with the iRacing credits. right now, as long as they can make it the rest of the way around this track, is looking at David Holland now on your screen. That's the amazing thing here, Ossian, is that everybody in the top 5 has had some sort of trouble today. As we're going to take a quick look back here at P11, give Nicholas Delp, who had himself a good ride going there for a while, as he's getting a turn. That's Rambler off the front end of Rambler.
No!
Oh! And I'm not sure what Delp was trying to do, running in reverse like that. Maybe just trying to keep up with Rambler, but he found the tire barriers instead. Actually, lucky he didn't get stuck in the tire barriers. But back up front, Ned Stark through the bus stop one more time.
And
it looks like
it
looks like he is going to be able to roll away with this thing. Clifton Nerano starting to look a little larger in the rear view mirror, but it's going to be too little, too late. Home to $20 in iRacing credits. Those are going to Ned Stark as he wins the Vantage eSports Invitational. In second, we'll find Clifton Nerano as the fireworks go off. Kevin Santana coming home in third. Colin Stark in fourth position. David Holland coming home in fifth position. Congratulations to the top 5. All you guys able to overcome difficulty.
Oh, P7.
David Weiss in trouble. Got a battle here for P7. We'll go to it. Looks like sorry, that was the lap vehicle there.
My bad.
That was Ramek coming home in eighth. And looking at Rambler and Grisco as they're coming across. Here's another battle too. It may be a lap down, still a battle nonetheless. Telez and Hunt, they're used to fighting each other on PL Trucks Wednesdays. They're coming across the line side by side for 19th.
And it was Telez taking it by a mere advantage, by a very small advantage.
Yeah, we're actually going to go back to that. That was a great side-by-side battle there all the way to the line. Rachel trying to use that air to slow him down a little bit, and it ultimately didn't work. I think he got her by about the width of the splitter. So, great run for those guys. Hey, we're done with the racing on the track, but we're going to go ahead and talk to a few of the guys. We'll run through the finishing order of what was a crazy Vantage eSports Invitational here at Daytona. We'll be right back on GSRC. That was an interesting, crazy race. C7's bringing them out to play at Daytona tonight for the Vantage eSports Invitational. And these guys put on a show out there here at Daytona. Your final race rundown. Clifton Durano, he was trying to push to try to get up to Ned Stark, but ultimately just didn't have enough laps to get the job done. So Ned Stark comes away with the win. Clifton Durano, Kevin Santana on the recovery drive, Colin Stark on the recovery drive, David Holland, guess what? Repeating theme on the recovery drive. Those rounds out your top five. Those are your money-paying positions there. David Weiss in six. He had a great battle going for Rod Clenard there for a while. Sean Romig, Lionel De Pratt, Sheldon Rosenbaum. That rounds out your top 10.
And P number 11, we have Scott Rambler. Interesting race for him. Christian Gritzko in P number 12. Then is Nicholas Dell, P number 13. Raymond Doe in P number 14. Then is Terry Swan. And Andy Spicer, P number 15 and 16. Karsten Quint, 17th. Steve Ray, 18th. Jos Teles in P number 19. And Rachel Hunt rounds out the top 20. And then we got a couple of more guys who were in this race as well.
Rem, who has helped put this thing on here today, he's going to come home in 21st position. The rest of these guys found problems, that being Blackwood and Ellis. Ultimately, Ulmer and Briggins did not take the start. And I got to say, that battle between Jose Teles and Rachel Hunt there at the end, it may have been only for 19th, but it felt like it was for the end of the race. Great fight between those two. But we've got Kevin Santana down in here. We'll let Ossian talk to him.
Kevin Santana, P number 3 here today. Certainly an interesting race from you. You were in the battle right from the get-go. Started in the second place. You were racing against Starks, basically, a race long. Colin Stark at first. And then, well, turn number 1 started to happen. A lot of people were caught out. How difficult were the conditions out there today?
I didn't think it was too bad. A little slick, but nothing horrible.
Okay, so how was your race overall? I mean, P number 3, you have to be happy, surely.
Well, after the spin in the bus stop, having to come back, yeah, I'm happy with third.
Yeah, so just one more question. Tell us a little bit about your comeback. How is it to come back in Daytona? How is it to go from the leading battle to sort of the midfield battle where you necessarily don't know the guys too well and you have to be a little bit more careful? Was it like taking one position at the time, or did you have that red mist of, oh, I need to get back into the leading battle? This end up, how was it?
After I pitted, I was far enough behind that I just pretty much everything I took over was mostly on pit stops.
Ooh. So pretty much a little bit less battling, a little bit more strategy then.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's Kevin Santana. Any shout-outs here? Any free words? Anyone you want to say hello to?
Yeah, thanks to Rem for putting this on. It was fun.
Yeah, it sounds sure like you had a lot of fun out here today. Well, Kevin, congratulations for P number 3, and I believe we are heading off to our next interviewee, who is Michael Overbay is going to be the next person who is going to be interviewed, and I believe Adam has him here in the booth.
Okay, so we got Michael Overbay in here. I don't see you on the board. Michael, were you racing as Ned Stark tonight?
Well, I lost my head, so therefore I was Ned Stark tonight.
Okay. All right. I went on a hunch there for a while. I had to figure that Ned Stark wasn't the real name. So, Michael, man, that was an interesting race there. You definitely had to earn that one, especially in the early stages. These C7's quite a handful tonight.
Yeah, they really are. They're just so much fun to drive, though, and the draft is so huge. So my strategy the whole time was just stay behind everybody, save a little fuel, stay out of trouble, and then they just start falling apart. And then I got behind, I think it was Clifton, and I was just going to stay there, and then he spun. It was like, what's going on with everybody?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that was crazy. Particularly horseshoes ended up being a problem, but especially turn one, as we actually seeing on the screen right now, where you just barely missed a car there going through the blind section of turn one. And I got to think that was probably an underwear changing moment.
I thought that I was dead there. Yeah, I thought he was coming back. I was like, oh, there goes my race. Nope. Got lucky and snuck through that. Poor Colin, and that is his name. My teammate there, he did a great job of, coming back after. I think he got in a little bit of a tangle with somebody, and then I think he might have spun it on his own once. But I got to give shout outs to him to come back up for fourth place for 2 spins. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it ended up working out pretty well. Great recovery drives from pretty much the whole lot of you. So great run tonight, Michael, and we'll see you around here next time.
All right, thanks a lot, and shout out to our new team, TQ Engineering. Great job, guys. Thanks to you guys for putting on this, and thanks to Vantage eSports. This was absolutely a wonderful thing to do. So, congrats to them too.
Well, there you go. And of course, I liked his analogy. I still have my head. So if you don't watch Game of Thrones, well, I've only seen a couple of episodes anyway. So anyway, hey, Aussie, and you're going to catch up with Rem. Rem helped organize everything tonight, so I'm sure he wants to say a few words.
Thanks, Adam.
Indeed.
Thanks,
Indeed.
guys. Look, I'd just like to shout out to all the guys and the girl that raced tonight. It was awesome to see the turnout, and I believe we will have another one coming up, maybe perhaps next week 13, but we'll keep everyone posted about that. But again, thanks to you guys for the great commentating and great view on this race tonight, and thanks to Vantage Esports as well for helping me put all this on. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good one.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you very much, Rem. That was very, very, very well put, and I hope indeed we'll see you guys on next week, number 13. Adam, I think it's time for us to, head off for some messages, or at least final words.
Hey, it was an invitational tonight, a fun race. I'm gonna go have a beer, and then I'm going to bed. That's my plan, because it's what you do after fun races like this one. Hey, we want to thanks to Vantage Esports. Hey, they put on the race along with Rem. They put up the money for these guys to win here for tonight. First place got to come home with $20. So that's awesome. Congratulations to Michael Overbay, who is going under the alias of Ned Stark tonight. We knew it was an alias for somebody. We just didn't know who for sure until the end of this thing. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Ossian, Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races and a link to our merchandise store, you can find it at globalsimracing.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global SimRacing Channel, Instagram at GSRC_Graham, and of course, if you'd like to support that channel, go back to that merchandise store and check them out. The link is in the description below. And like we were talking about at the beginning of the broadcast, we would be very bad YouTubers if we didn't tell you to hit that big red subscribe button and, of course, the notification bell there. We also have other upcoming races that are shown here on your screen, so check them out, mark them down in your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
On the red ground.